Beautiful beings, bienvenido. Beautiful beings, getting that pause, getting that rest that you deserve. That is your basic dignity, your inherentness. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Cut on the rope, living a robe lifestyle. My ear hurts. I've been recording videos for a bit. My ear hurts, so I'm hoping that this can still happen. I'm realizing I need to talk louder. Oops. Maybe have the mic a little lower. La la. Getting it figured out. So I want to go in on adding work trade to your lifestyle. Maybe you caught the other video on preparedness, kind of like emergency preparedness or colonial collapse preparedness. Those exist. And another way to prepare yourself is to decentralize money and put trading of resources, be that like labor or materials, into your life as a way to get your needs met, to get your resources. So this is like a direct exchange. If you think about money, it creates like an indirect exchange where you have to go make money to then spend money to get your resources. And so this trade is taking out money. So you're just like engaging with the person who has the food directly. Like, I grew food, right? And then I'm like, oh, I have these skills. I can make you herbal medicine. I can also like teach you how to preserve some of your food and like make some other stuff, or just ramble off the list of skills and talents that I have until they're like, ooh, that one. And then figure out a way to trade around it. So realizing that too, it's a conversation, it's a negotiation, it's like a win-win. So make sure you're treating it as such. Okay. So you trade, like I was saying, directly based off of your needs. Housing, care, food, structures, cleanliness. You ask others who have that for it directly and offer something in return. My story of work trade, it's at least 10 years, going on 10 years. And how I just like thought of it is like, I love when people cook for me and I wash the dishes, and it's like, make me a meal, and it's like, or make us both a meal. Usually we eat together, and then I'll like wash the dishes in this scenario. So I'm thinking, we have a lot of trade negotiations. We're just not coming at it from that perspective. So I think that's, for me, what I'm doing is like goods and services from this perspective. Even education you can put on here. If someone has a skill that you want, like carpentry, language, right? You can direct trade for that. I just got a tattoo trade. Come on, partial tattoo. This bottom part I'm trying to show you, but get what you get. I wrote out this outline like 5 years ago, and I'm reading it right now, trying to make sense of it. I could have before this video, but now we're already 5 minutes in, so commit. I'll just read it. It says type of person to interact with. So trade is a skill in itself, and kind of like any interpersonal relationship, notice red, yellow, green flags. Right, because we are socialized in a society where it's not win-win. People want to win over you, or right, money, paper money wealth is built on stealing from others. So then there's like, right, so when we move to a trade-based society economy, you really need to know who you're working with, who you're trading with, the outcomes. Even my tattoo, it was supposed to be partial trade, and then we just like had a lot of miscommunications and stuff, to the point where they're just like, okay, I can't charge money for this anymore, which I did find honorable. Like, when your service is going downhill, admit that and compensate people, right? Like we're saying, win-win. It's like, I keep showing up and you're doing this half thing that I'm supposed to be like, you know, we're supposed to be reciprocating. And right, being clear about your needs. I just had someone come over and fix, quote unquote, my computer. And as you might know from interacting with the videos, all of our files were deleted. So, clarity. Okay, so number 3 is clarifying agreements. So tasks, work hours, or how long to completion, or when you're checking in, how often you're checking in, the modes of check-in, right, like electronically, in person, at the market, like where are you, how are you communicating, where are you communicating. Some people write out contracts and do written specifics. Sometimes I just do written emails or ask people to write out text messages, because things do kind of fall away if there isn't a record. I am working on writing less things down, but I do notice some memory support in writing things down. And then you value your offerings, right? You gotta, what are they trading you? And I usually, some people, yeah, I usually do it from, this is what I got, and this is, I guess I have been doing it from a monetary stance sometimes-ish. I would say yes, because I'm socialized in a money economics, and so usually we're like, hey, someone, I'm like, oh gosh, didn't think this would be so complicated. When I'm going to like receive something, I'm like, hey, I need this. Someone's like, oh, I have it. And they'll give me a monetary figure. Like, in the monetary world, it goes for this. And then I decide how much trade to give them based off that. And I've never had anyone like question, like, well, you know, what's the going rate? Or, you know, it's like somewhere in that ballpark, you know, based off of, I also think of sliding scale a lot. And I do love that mentality of like, you know, sometimes people have their money thing, but also like, I'm underprivileged and underfunded and haven't gotten my reparations and haven't gotten my family reparations, and just like, maybe I'd say I'm still receiving my family reparations. I had this like document, and it was like economic status, and I was like reparations recipient. I'm also, what's it called? Multidextrous. I forget what it's called when you can write with both of your hands, but I have that. But my elbow lately, as some of you know from following my journey, I sprained my ligament in my elbow, and I think it's the weather is cooling off right now is part of it. And I think I've been using a lot, like this summer. It's like the first summer where I could like, no brace out in the world, and pushed it a little hard. So it's definitely coming into the fall, like, oof, ready to rest. So maybe you're noticing me more with one hand over the other, but they're both usable. I don't know. I was just like, I need to clarify this. So that's something I do, is value it on a monetary system, and then kind of let the person who came to me with a need, you know, just offer their thing based off of that. And usually I monetarily market, like I was saying, on a sliding scale, like herbal medicine is going for this, and also it's going for this in our community, or this in their community, like understanding your positionality at the moment. And that's what I'm saying, sliding scale kind of rhetoric. The length of the commitment. If you want to get references and stuff, you can still do interviews, get references, and a lot of like the protocol in like corporate world, let's say, can still apply. And of course, just like clearly figuring out your agreements, you know, this much, this, then, who, what, when, where, why. Both of you have that, review it, agree. Of course, follow through. So I feel like there's a lot more fluidity in trade. It's a lot more emotion based. You know, you're taking into account like a whole person, mind, body, soul, and sometimes you have to shift stuff around. But kind of like I was saying with my tattoo, there's a point where there's too much shifting, right? There's too much flexibility because, you know, we are supposed to get this done at some point. And in a way, like I was saying, that's win-win. And so when it does fall out of balance, being accountable along the way with like the lived out actions based off of your documents and agreements. Like I was saying, corporate stuff, you can still fire someone midway. Like that red flagging man that I let into my house to fix my computer, who wiped all my files. I could have fired him way before he was in my house tinkering with my stuff because there's plenty of red flags, but interact with that video because it's a whole thing. Some people do like deposits and like partial trades and right, that's kind of part of your agreements, but can also fluctuate kind of along the way. Like sometimes people are like, oh, I need this, and at the start of your agreement you didn't have it, but then it like came into be. So there's a little bit of flexibility that I feel like isn't in the corporate world. I don't know, this says 5 advertising. So I guess you just got to make it known that you're about the trade lifestyle and that you have the skills to have a trade lifestyle and you want to be practicing it with people in your community. I don't know, I guess that also is like a support group for people trading and try to build up a community around your trade lifestyle, a trade-based community. Sounds amazing. This says 6. Group specifics. Oh, okay, and so I want to share with you this kind of like tallying mode that I do. This is specifically for housing, for living and utilities. And so there's 11 ways that I measure it, and I pick how many hours a week? Or, yeah, I'm not sure. I think each one can have one, up to one. Like, I think, like I said, I'm just reading this, but things to work trade about, to think about what you're getting when you're living and receiving utilities for work trade. And that's kind of part of my story, is I was work trading for housing maybe for 5 years at a lot of different places. I think like I would stay at a place for 6 months, move to another place for 6 months. Appliances and specifically like the kitchen, water, your access to water and what it does. Heating and lighting are the same line. Internet, computer, printing, all the same line. Personal space. Is 6 and 7. 8 is bathroom, shower, tub, laundry situations. 9 is communal space and what you have access to communally. 10 is communal wellness that you have access to. And 11 is furniture. Oh, was that even in the camera? I was doing sign language numbers. To 11. And so, yeah, I guess I gave each one 1 point if I was thinking like what I deserve in housing. And then just here, the last place I lived, I had 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 2/3, because I guess there was no printer. 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 1/3 for communal wellness. Because if you think about it, some houses just have like tea and kind of like a little apothecary or tincture or garden, or things like that, yard where wild things are growing. And so this place didn't have much of that, I guess. And then furniture, like, is my room, is my personal space furnished? And so I gave this 1/3. So maybe there was like a bed and then like in an empty room or something. Or just like a dresser. Sometimes there's just like a rug and hangers, you know, there's just like a little bit of accents. There is one more thing over here. And so this is food. I've also done a lot of work trade for food. And sometimes that's an addition of living somewhere. They're like, oh, you can also just like, we'll buy you food, I guess. So this is herbs and spices, vegetables, fruits, meats. I'm a meat eater, folks. Grains and breads, ferments, oils and fats, and dairy. And I don't think I gave them each one. But then I would come up with the thing, like my housing and living was at 8 and 1/3. And I guess I did give these each one. Because I think a lot of times, too, people are like, oh, we'll feed you. But you can't, like, give them a grocery list. Or, like, actually choose food that you'd be eating. So I think it's important to know what you actually have access to and be trading based off of that, not the theory or the ideology. Because I feel like that is happening a lot in a lot of settings, is like, it's kind of like slave labor situations, very low pay migrant labor situations where it's like, I'm not actually getting things. And so these lists and tally systems supported me in like going to someone's space and they're like, I have a farm and you can like work trade to like live here and have access to food, and to get clarity with a person like, actually, this is what you're offering me. You know, this is all that I can use because this is all you're offering, even though you're saying, you're making it seem like a lot more. So this had my housing at 8 and 1/3 out of 11, and then 4.5 out of 8 in food. And I would kind of just think that, like, what is the going rate for housing, right? And so that's at an 11. So I'm going to pay, like, a little bit less because my stuff is coming up to 8 and 1/3, right? And that's the thing with trade, and that's what I was saying, like, servitude is that for some reason people don't think the actual things apply. Things from corporate world apply. You know, fair worker conditions apply. Like, all these things still apply. We're just we're doing it more directly and removing money, decentralizing money. And there's a lot of respect in that. Okay, so those are kind of the tally methods I came up with, and I feel like this video is a hot mess, and I just thank you for getting here. Junto, siempre.